Hi, I'm Ben Wheeler, a candidate for Somerville City Council at large, a technology educator, a housing advocate, and a proud member of our Jewish community. This November, there will be a ballot initiative calling on the city of Somerville to boycott and divest from companies assisting with the government of Israel's military and with its discriminatory policies. I've gotten a lot of questions from many of you about my position, and I wanted to talk about it and share some of my perspective, where I'm coming from, and also to share my uncertainties. There's much more that I don't know than what I do know, and I'm struggling along with many of you to make sense of forces much bigger than me. I want to start by acknowledging a few things. First, I want to acknowledge the depth of the horror that's been unfolding in front of our eyes for years now in Gaza. I want to acknowledge the pain and suffering of the Palestinian people, the children who are being starved, the parents who have to watch that happen, and the families that live in fear and can't even bury their loved ones sometimes. I'm a father, and I see myself in fathers in Gaza. I see my children in their children, and that's a big part of what's moved me to speak out in anguish and moved me to want to reach out and talk to all of you. What's happening is unimaginable, and it pulls hard at the conscience of anyone who's not close to the humanity of the Palestinian people. A lot of people are asking, but is this a Somerville issue? Somerville can't solve everything, but I think it is. This is a Somerville issue for me because our tax dollars are paying for these weapons. And this is a Somerville issue because all people, and especially all children, deserve to feel safe and secure wherever they call home. And for me, this is a Somerville issue because it's a human issue. Second, I want to acknowledge that Somerville is an incredibly diverse place with people from many different countries and faiths, including Arabs and Israelis, Muslims and Jews. There are a tremendous number of different perspectives here and different histories that people bring. And speaking as someone most intimately familiar with the Jewish community, I want to acknowledge that Jews feel scared right now. I hear it from the people at my temple, I hear it from my parents, I hear it from community members. Jews in this country have been targeted and attacked in vicious ways that recall the horrors that Jews have suffered in history. Friends of mine know people who were murdered on October 7th, and other friends know people whose families hid in a ditch while friends and neighbors were slaughtered. That fear too is a Somerville issue. And not to mention the hate and violence that's been directed at Arabs and Palestinians in this country, even in this city, and murderously in states nearby us. So many people in Somerville don't feel safe these days, and all of the ways people feel unsafe, all of them need attention, care, support, and healing. Third, I want to acknowledge the sense of division that so many people have right now, the sense of anger that's come up in the streets and during City Hall meetings. We're facing cruelty on multiple fronts, and it's crucial that we bring people together. If people who could be allies in opposing the right-wing regimes in Washington and Israel are instead pushed apart, I think we're doing a disservice to the cause of peace and to our community. All of us have a role to play in shifting that division and treating those we disagree with human compassion. For the ballot question, I signed the petition to put this question on the ballot because our federal government is assisting in the bombing of civilians in Gaza and doing so in ways that belie any conceivable definition of restraint. It's assisting this military occupation that's lost all credibility in its claims not to be deliberately murdering civilians. And because people are being deprived of food and medicine as a means of collective punishment by an ultra-nationalist government that said it wants to clear them from the land one way or another. I wish to God I could believe this isn't genocide, but this is genocide. To me, this is not just another faraway conflict. This is something we're complicit in with our tax dollars and our government support. And I believe our community has a moral duty to say that we don't want to be part of that complicity. I also want to be clear. Supporting this measure is not about targeting Jews or Israelis. I'm Jewish. My grandfather was a cantor, a leader of prayer and song in a synagogue. My daughters had their bat mitzvahs here. And voices rising together singing timeless words is the most beautiful sound in the world to me. I think the state of Israel should exist. I support the self-determination of the Jewish people and the self-determination of the Palestinian people, just as I support that of Egyptians and Poles and Ukrainians. I don't think the crimes of governments, even governments elected over many years, make Israel or any country invalid. Despite the many horrific misdeeds of governments of the United States, I'm a proud American for the work and struggles here over so long and for what I think this country can be. And I want the Palestinian, Jewish, Arab, and Israeli members of our community to know that I welcome their pride and I celebrate it. Again, I think the state of Israel should exist, and I think it should change. I think it has to change for the safety and flourishing of Jews and Palestinians and everyone, everywhere. I know there have been decades of violent exclusion and dispossession, but I don't believe that the freedom of Palestine and the existence of Israel are mutually exclusive. I've said many times that I would have liked to see different language in this ballot initiative, different focus, something more general to the values and vision of our city, like Medford's recent ordinance. This ballot measure also seems, from my limited research, legally very difficult to implement. It might be primarily symbolic, but symbols matter, and standing up on the national stage to say no to this injustice matters. And that's why, if this is passed, I'll work in good faith to implement it, in the spirit of a future where Palestinians and Israelis both have equal rights, dignity, and safety. Symbols, again, have power, and it takes a lot of hard work to focus that power. So when we use symbols, we have to be aware of their power to trigger when there's a well of deep pain. We have to take seriously that there are some people out there who do blur the line between opposition to Israel and anti-Semitism. And to combat that, I urge all of us who care about freedom in Palestine and Israel to be crystal clear. These unjust governments are our opponents. Israeli people are not. When I chant for Palestinian freedom, for safety, and the rights for Palestinians to return to their homeland, I also chant for Israeli freedom. I don't see a contradiction. It's my conviction about each of these that strengthens the other. I'm hoping that this resolution and these efforts can allow our community to say to Washington and to companies profiting from war, not in our name. And I want everyone appalled by this cruel devastation and this ongoing system of unequal rights, including all those who value Israel, to know that I invite you to stand with me. But most of all, I want to recognize that so many in our community are experiencing uncertainty and fear, and I want us all to commit to supporting each other's safety, freedom, and pride, no matter our political disagreements. The situation in this country and in the world is uncertain and it's harrowing. We don't want to add to that uncertainty or that pain here in Somerville. Let's stand up for what we believe while standing up for each other. Thank you so much for listening, and I welcome your questions and thoughts.